the civil rights movement. We was asking, now those people that it's like you hungry, you reach your level. It's like you hungry, you reach your level. You don't want any more. We asked 10 years ago. We was asking with the Panthers. We was asking with that, the civil rights movement. We was asking, now those people that were asking, they're all dead in the jail. So now what do you think we're going to do?
God, where you at? I've been really patient. Looking for change and I'm tired of waiting. They said if I gave you all of my problems, then you wouldn't look at me like I was crazy. So I went to you with no debating. Then moved out of state and they started hating. Said I got robbed was the reason I left. But I think they just wanted conversation. Saying that he good is an understatement. You got a chopper, congratulations. I understand if you can't rap about nothing else, but you killing this generation. Gave him some time in the county jail. What was you at when they posted bail? Couldn't write them back when they said it felt like the walls were caving on them inside the city. Freaking the people you running with. Then built you a team that'll never quit. I'm talking about the one that ain't scared to get down on one knee when it's too hard to handle it. See, I darn it went crazy when they killed my cousin. Same duty ring when you left him bloody. That's why they say you put family first. Cause though you got problems, they still gon' love you. The hardest thing ever was dragging this body up out of that hurts. God told me, boy, this is flesh. It gotta be buried, so I'ma put it in this dirt. Stop all that worrying. I got it sore. I got it sore. I got it sore. Put all the crying and weeping and dry off the minds. Cause you know I'm still in control. Well, Lord, hold these tears, cause they really get heavy. And send me an angel, cause I need a blessing. I said, Lord, hold these tears, cause they really get heavy. And send me an angel. Cause you know that I need a blessing. Lord, 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 I need a blessing. I need a blessing. I need a blessing. Lord, I need a blessing. I need a blessing. I need a blessing. Lord, I need a blessing. I need a blessing. I need a blessing. Lord, I need a blessing. I need a blessing. I need a blessing. Lord, I need a blessing. I gave up their life, who were you to judge? I cut out the middle, don't need a plug. The people that stick with me not really riding. Ain't even gotta tell them to buckle up. Keeping the level head. Sometimes it ain't even about the bread. You can't buy no loyalty, trust, and respect. There gotta be something you earn instead. A gun make them feel like it's Superman. Ain't got nothing to lose and take a chance. You wouldn't even know it, cause it never showed with a Glock tucked down in his waistband. You better know it.
I'm jamming. That's enough of that. Good afternoon, everyone. How y'all doing? How you doing? This is your one and only Facebook minister, Minister Eric Robinson Jr. stepped on here. Today is Wednesday. Y'all know how I do it. It's time for us to have a Bible study. It's time for us to have a Bible study. Not a Bible study session. We're finna have a heart-to-heart talk. And topic of the heart-to-heart talk is probably something you probably seen or not. The topic is called Plans Do Change. Plans do change. Give me a sec to adjust this. It's a piece of work at times. Plans do change. And everybody, a lot of us know, it's the truth. A lot of plans do change. A lot of circumstances do change. A lot of our upcoming current situations. Hey, how you doing? God bless you. Things do change. Plans do change. Besides that, to be honest with you, we're the ones who often change God's plans nearly every day because we want to do our own thing. We want to plan our own situations out rather than letting God be the one that guides us and stop going by what we want and go by what He wants. Like I like to say, God gives you the things that you need, not the things that you want. Yeah, I might as well go deep. I may make some people mad, but oh freaking well. It's not one of them, I'm going to make you feel good messages. It's one of them, I'm going to tell it to you like it is and be truthful messages. So the scripture the scripture that's going to go with this topic is coming from Jeremiah. You've probably seen it another time. Jeremiah 29:11. Jeremiah chapter 29 verse 11. It says, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. I'm going to read that one more time. For the peanut gallery. I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. So, let me put this on the charger, because I don't know why this joker dies down so freaking quick. So, otherwise, God already had our whole lives planned out, and we just changed his plans, didn't we? Because we want to do what we want to do. Because a lot of times, you know how we can sit back and say, if I woulda, coulda, shoulda, but didn't. If I woulda, coulda, shoulda, I wouldn't be in this situation. If I woulda, coulda, shoulda, but I want to do my own thing. You know, a lot of times we always changing God's plans, but get mad when God changes our plans. Especially when we ask God for things, and God says, "You're not going to get this. I have something better." We choose to make the plan to settle for this and not settle for what God really has for us. We always want to do what we want to do. We always want to make our own plans and not go by the plans that's already been made for us by God. Parents want us to have good life. Parents want us to go to college. That's a good thing, especially if they're paying for it. But we go in our rebellion stage and want to do our own thing. Especially in the teenage years, that's where the highest rate of rebellion comes in at. We want to go in our teenager, we want to be rebellious onto the plans that was already set. But a lot of times we'll often sit back as we got older in our lives. I'm 33, for to be 34 in November. I sat back, if I only did this, I wouldn't be in this situation or this situation. But I always thought, then again, I wouldn't have been a blessing or a testimony to somebody else if I did do this and do this. Sometimes it's like we have one of them woulda, coulda, shoulda, but didn't moments. We look at situations saying, I should have, I could have, I did it, but I did my own thing. And wind up putting myself in various particular situations. I'm not going to go, I may give examples, I may not, because some examples I may give, man, I may make some of y'all mad at me. Oh, but then again, I'm not the word person I'm not trying to please man, I'm trying to please God. I want to please God. A lot of us, man, the key example that I want to use, but I may feel like I'm going to be disrespectful, but I'm not. I'm just being honest. Is not only getting pregnant, but having a kid with the wrong man. Getting the wrong woman pregnant and having your kid with the wrong woman, or having kids with the wrong man, because the plan was to have kids with this person, with someone, but we altered and did premature things. Or we just disrupted something that we already set forth into action and set in our minds. Yeah, I'm going to find me a good man or a good woman. Have a good, healthy relationship, especially God being in the midst of it. And then get to the point of marriage, and then I was going to have kids. But we often let the devil speak in our ears enough to make us change our plans. So we're like, what the heck happened? It was already planned out, but I didn't stick to the plan. Things was already planned out. I already had it in my mindset. I already had in mind exactly what I do, but we blame the devil for messing up our plans. No, we allow him to be in our ears long enough to make us make the decision to change our plans. The devil didn't make us do anything. It's called free will and choice. We made the choice to do it. So it's like we often change the plans ourselves for just to make somebody else happy. We change the timeline in the plan that God already has for us. Because God said in his word, for I know the plans that I have for you. Plans to prosper, and not to harm. His plans is not meant to harm us. His plans was help us to prosper and become better, but we chose to change the plan. We chose to say, okay, bump that, I'm with this man or this woman, I'm gonna get her pregnant before marriage. But why not finding out and getting to that point that that man or that woman wasn't meant for you? Or you got pregnant by the wrong person. We made the choice in spiritually connecting with the wrong person who has no intentions of making you wanting to be your wife, being a husband, or making you a wife. We changed plans. Jonah in the Bible, God told him to go here to prophesize. But Jonah decided to do something different. And look what happened to him. It took him being in the depths of a situation, in this scenario case, in depths of being in the belly of a fish, for him to know, I need to get back on track. I would not have been in this belly of this fish if I would have did what I was supposed to do in the first place. David, King David, man after God's own heart, was doing fine, wonderful, and good until he ran into a woman named Bathsheba. I ain't trying to say women are bad, just listen. He ran into a woman named Bathsheba. He already had a wife, but it was one of his friends' wife. So he was doing fine. He changed the plan. Guess what he did? He ended up sleeping with the woman. And then, for him to cover up his dirty deed, he sends the man to the front lines to get him killed, to cover up what he did. And guess who confronted him about that situation? The prophet Nathan. Nathan confronted him about what he did and about how he conducted himself, and told him God was not pleased for what he did. Even when we thinking that we're doing our dirty deeds in the dark and nobody's not going to find out, nobody ain't going to tell on me, think again. Some way, somehow, in some shape or form, them dirty deeds is going to come to light. What's done in the dark is going to come to the light. God bless you. How you doing today? It's going to come to the light. So you're not really hiding nothing. Because God just sitting up there and saying, look here. I think they need to get it together. They need to ask for forgiveness. Or I'm going to take that sheet. I'm going to expose what the heck they doing. That's exactly what God's getting ready to do. God's getting ready to expose a lot of people in a lot of their dirty deed situations. There was times in my life there's a lot of times in my life I had a couple dirty deed situations exposed on me, because that's back then when I was just in that I don't give a care situation mindset. But now, as I'm more mature and learning from what God is very capable of doing, I was like, bump that. I'm not for that. I ain't for to have God embarrass me. No, let me do what's right. So that's another way of showing that there have been plenty of people in the Bible who... here's another example. We all was in the Word, and we read on the Bible. We read about Abraham, who was Abram first before he became Abraham. He was known as the father of all nations. But Sarai and Abram wanted to have a child, and they was getting to the point they got tired of waiting. Y'all can read that story in the book of Genesis. So, guess what happens? Sarai present her servant Hagar to Abram for Abram to have their child, which the child he had was Ishmael. See how a lot of times God said he promised to give, but a lot of times we don't have the patience to wait on that promise, and we just alter God's plan. It's not canceled, it's not failed, we just change and we delay the process. We change and delay the process. No, often at times we deal with people who says that they want the friendship, they want a relationship, they want a relationship turn into marriage with this or with a particular person. Or even at times when somebody's going through some hurt and they doing the healing phase. A lot of times it's like we often see these stuff that happens, how you're there with somebody while they're going through their healing phase. You're there as that friend. And then all of a sudden, some people in their minds make the plans of, okay, I've been with this person throughout their good relationships, the bad relationships, the whole 9 yards. And I've been through them while they were been going through them healing process, and when they got in the arguments in the base with their boyfriends or their girlfriends. And we like, oh, I don't know, it may be a chance. It may be open for me to even be in this. I pray that I may be in a line and a chance to have something because I've been friends with them for a long time. I know them well and good. We've been cool. We've been cool. 2 peas in the pod since we've been going through we've been there through our best of time and worst of times. But now all of a sudden it's like after you go through that healing process, they go through that healing process, they get back up. It seems like now they go on to somebody else. They be with somebody who hasn't really been there through a whole lot of the process. So a lot of us be sitting back either mad, either we'll sit here and be mad and saying, this man, this woman just came into their life. And it's like, we feel like we made it easier for them because we was there through the rough patches and been friends with them for a long time and helped them along the way. And it's like, oh, I guess plans do change. I guess they get you all hyped up and encouraged. But I say, oh, I guess plans do change. Rather than often at times making things established and making things known, for no plans can be changed or no plans can be really made. But it comes out, what they're really doing comes out to the light in some shape or fashion or form. Now another example of someone in the biblical wise who decided to change God's plan. Who's another example? Samson. Oops. Samson. The man, strong, a powerhouse. Changed God's plan by allowing a woman to deceive him to a point of telling her his weakness. She ended up cutting all his hair off, then betrayed him. But God gave him the strength to kill the Philistines afterwards. He altered God's plan by revealing his weakness to someone else. All because he wanted a good woman or a wife by his side. Not a bad thing, but at the same time, it's like when God came to Samson's mom and told her that she was going to have a child named Samson and he's going to have tremendous strength, that under no circumstances was she was supposed to cut Samson's hair. Now see how plans altered? That plan got altered, but at the end of the day, it got changed. It just got altered, but he still ended up killing a bunch of Philistines before he died, including killing Delilah, the one he revealed his weakness to. One thing I can say, it is tough to be able to let your hair down and be vulnerable and weak to some people, but we can't let our hair down and be vulnerable and weak to just anybody. Because a lot of times, when we feel like that somebody is good enough that we can just lay our hair down and feel weak and vulnerable, we often do it to the wrong people, but wondering why our business is on social media, wondering why people looking at us sideways and strange, because we was vulnerable and we let our hair down with the wrong people. And what I mean letting the hair down with the wrong people, meaning we end up telling people that we tell the wrong people our business. plans change. You know, even though Jesus had like 12 disciples, 12 disciples, there was only 3 of them that he was able to really let his hair down and be vulnerable with. Peter, John, and James were the ones that he was able to really be vulnerable with, be open with. Plans do change. No, they didn't betray him or nothing, but plans do change. When we often sit back as kids, as teenagers, we often make plans. We literally often make plans for our own lives when the plans has already been made. We just have to walk in it in obedience. We often have to just walk in it in obedience. We have to stop leaning and stop depending on the plans that we made that's going to really work out. And 9 out of 10, it really don't work out. Because when we make the plans, we don't acknowledge God. Because the word says acknowledge, and everything we do, we acknowledge God. Because God can help us with these plans, and when we put that request in and say, God, I want to do this, I want to do that for you, I want you get the glory out of it, but we often don't acknowledge God. We just say, bump God, I know I'm going to get it done one way or another. But it seems how often plans do change, and we find out why God changed the plan, because it wasn't the right fit for us, or the person wasn't right for us. Oh, one part. We often feel like we so-called at peace, but we're not at real peace. Because we are still dealing with some hurt and some pain of what we've been through, either through our childhood, our teenage years, or being in previous relationships or marriages. And we don't take the time to heal. We often hurt somebody else who doesn't deserve it, but never want to take pride and be honest with ourselves and say, well, I didn't take time to heal. I never take time to myself and heal, so that's why I'm the way I am. I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. I'm conducting myself the way I'm conducting myself. Another part that comes to mind is the fact that how we often, in the name of Jesus, how we often make our own plans. We often conduct ourselves the way we want to be conduct. We often treat people the way we want to treat them. And often we make plans how we want to treat somebody. But then, when we be stuck and we're in a jacked up situation, we often put it all up on social media. It's all on social media. And wondering why people look at us strange. If we only stayed the course of the plan that was set and acknowledge God in some of the stuff that we wanted to do that's pleasing to Him, a lot of 10 out of 10, we won't be in so many jacked up situations that we are all in. We wouldn't be knocked up with another man-child and finding out they didn't want to be around. They don't want to be around for to be a dad or a mother, whatever. We wouldn't be in jacked up business situations. We wouldn't be in jacked up places that's really not pouring into us and teaching us spiritually the way we need to be taught spiritually. We wouldn't be in jacked up situations as it is if we only took time to pray and acknowledge God and ask for guidance. Even to the point how we make plans on. I always like using this because I feel like like to be a relationship counselor and be able to counsel people in relationships and marriages and those who looking to be in something serious. I always looked at myself as doing that because I'm also using relationship phases and what people deal with, friendships, relationships to make points come across. To actually and literally make points come across. So what's coming to mind about it is how we often made these plans on how we want things to go. And we acknowledge God, and God says, yes, okay, that's good. Do this instead, do that instead, don't do this, because it's going to mess up the plan. And how that plan has already been made, it's always something somehow being altered because we allow man to persuade us to change the plan. We often let somebody sweet talk us good enough to make us change our plans, change what we want to do, change how we conduct ourselves, change how we go about some things. Sometimes for the good, sometimes for their wants and pleasures and needs. Some just to make sure that, oh, I'm locked up with her any kind of way. Or I'm locked up with him and have to deal with him for 18, 21 years because I don't got a child with him. Or got a child with her. Some do it in this. Some do it because they see dollar signs on somebody. But for all of us who desires to make plans in various of reasons, we need to be willing to acknowledge God when these plans are coming into fruition and ask God, say, how do you want me to go with this? Is this plan okay? God, do I need to make some changes to it? Is this good? How do I go about it? And stop leaning to our own understanding and stop leaning to mama, daddy, brother, sister, auntie, uncle, niece, nephew, cousin, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. Lean onto God. Because sometimes some people will literally sit there and make you change your plans. Because some of your plans can be altered and it can be changed because of the fact that they see potential. They see potential. They see that, oh, they got so much going on for themselves. I need to be a cock blocker. I need to block their plans. I need to make sure to drag them down, make them as low on the totem pole as possible. While I'm sitting up here being pretty, I want to make them a little less of me. Oops. Did I make somebody mad? Anywho. So God knows that God will reveal the plans of your enemies. God will let you know, hey, they plotting against you. You may don't need to be letting them know what's going on in your business. Oh, they trying to disrupt you. You need to get away from them. Or that's not going to work. You need to change it up. I'm sorry. You need to change that up. God will let you know the yeses and the nos and the parts of proceeding with caution. So, end of the day, I just want you to know and want you to say in this, don't let any person or circumstances force you to alter your plans. Don't let someone who means you no good to alter your plans. Well, alter the plans that God already has for you. Because look what bountifully happens. We be in jacked up, screwed up situations that we'll get to the point that it's going to be hard for us to get out. Don't be a Jonah. Don't be a Jonah. Don't be a David. Don't be a Abram. Don't be a Samson. I named these 4 people because they altered plans. And let me let you, I'm going to review and let y'all know why you brought these 4 men up. How they altered the plans. Abram, God promised him a child, promised him and his wife a child. But being ill and patient and not waiting on the Lord, Hagar ended up introducing Hey, Pastor, how you doing? He ended up introducing, she ended up introducing Hagar to Abram to have their child, which came out to be Ishmael. Guess what? They just altered their plans. Plans just got altered, but it was never denied. They still ended up having a child named Isaac. See how that's first demonstration how we often alter the plans of God. That's one demonstration of how we alter the plans of God. Next person who altered the plans of God. Samson altered the plans of God. Because when God instructed Samson's mother under no circumstances to cut his hair. Samson was a strong man and a man of God. But at the same time, he had one fatal weakness, and that's the love and the lust of women. He ended up running into a woman named Delilah, and opening up to her enough to tell where his strength comes from, reveal his weakness, and she betrayed him and cut his hair off. Altered the plans that God had already set. Jonah. Only reason I throw Jonah into the mix of it because of the fact that God has given him instructions to go somewhere to prophesy to the people, but chose to do his own thing and avoided doing what God has called him and told him to go, commanding him to do, and wound up in the belly of a fish. Wind up in the belly of a fish. And wind up having to sit in the belly of the fish for quite a bit of days for him to say, okay, God, I'm going to do what you had commanded me to do. David, man after God's own heart, had wives. Till he saw a woman by the name of Bathsheba. Lusted after Bathsheba. But knowing that she was already spoken and was a wife to one of his friends. Wind up sleeping with her. Wind up having plans to send that same man that was married to Bathsheba to the front lines to have him killed because of what he did. Now, guess what happens? Because of what he did and thought he was getting away with it, guess who confronted him about his dirty deed? The prophet Nathan confronted David about what he did and told him God was not pleased with what he did. Altered the plan. But got right back on course. So I just gave 4 examples on how plans got altered just by what happens biblically. If you think I'm lying, read Genesis for Abraham. If I'm right or not on this one, if not, please research it. For Samson was later on in Judges. David was pretty much around that part, plus Psalms. And then, of course, Jonah. The book of Jonah. Gotta read some stuff for yourself. 2 Timothy 2:15. Study yourself unto God. Study to show thyself approved unto God. A workman not ashamed, but rightly divine the word of truth. That scripture is going to sit in your mind and just tell you, research and find out for yourself. Find out for yourself. That's why preachers and pastors, all of us, always encourage us to write down scriptures and take down some notes, for we be able to look these things up for ourselves. You don't want to run with anything anybody tells you and don't take the time out to read and study for yourself. Otherwise, You'll be thinking they God, and they not. They just being used and being willing, obedient vessels to be used by God. But having to still look things up and get an understanding for ourselves. Look and get an understanding for ourselves. Just like I posted the scripture, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans for a hope. Our plans for a hope in the future. Jeremiah chapter 29 verse 11. But we have to stop altering the plans and stop going about doing things our way and start doing things God's way. Because when we continue on doing things our way, I'm digging up a hole now, digging myself deeper into a situation that I have no business digging myself into. Oops. So that's what we're doing. We're digging ourselves deeper into a situation that we have no business or having to dig ourselves out of. When His word says acknowledge God in everything we do, we need to acknowledge God in everything that we do. And stop trying to do our own thing and think it's going to work out. Plans do change, but they only change for the better. They don't change for the worse. They become worse when we allow the enemy to be constantly in our ears. Things become worse when we allow the wrong people to influence us to change plans to make themselves happy and make ourselves mad. This is your one and only Facebook minister, Minister Eric Robinson Jr. That was the heart-to-heart talk for the day. I thank y'all for tuning in. I thank you for the hearts, the likes, and shares. I always wrap my session saying I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all have a God bless morning, afternoon, evening, and night. God bless y'all. I love y'all. Peace. Enjoy your day.